Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going straight into the complete assassin build in Woe Adventure. This is a high damage class that levels quickly and is very popular among players who enjoy decisive melee gameplay, but there are also some weaknesses you need to know before investing, so make sure you watch this whole video. First, let's talk about the class overview. Assassin is a melee class focused on maximum damage with finishing skills and the ability to gain brief invincibility for a short period of time. This class excels in Secret Realm, but it is unsuitable for full autoplay, meaning you can't just let the game play by itself and expect maximum efficiency. One important thing I want to warn you about is that Assassin deals high damage and levels quickly, but it has a difficult damage environment in Abyss, meaning it is harder to optimize your damage there compared to other content. This is something you need to consider if your main goal is climbing Abyss. For class aura, Assassin increases crit, attack, penetration, and hit rating by 10% for the entire team, and this number increases to 20% when there is only one assassin in the team. This is the most well-rounded class aura I've analyzed in this series because it buffs 4 important stats at the same time, unlike other classes that only buff 1 or 2 specific stats. Now let's move on to choosing your build. If you are F2P or a new player, the recommended build is Attack Penetration, which is used for high defense bosses and regular dungeons. The priority stats are Penetration, Attack bonus, and Damage bonus, with hit rating added if needed. If you are aiming for Secret Realm ranking, Lantern, and maximum damage, then Attack Crit will be more suitable, prioritizing Crit, Attack bonus, and Damage bonus first, followed by Penetration or hit rating. The general rule remains the same as with the previous classes. Even if you are running a Crit build, you still need Penetration when facing high defense bosses. For skills, Assassin has a pretty clear separation depending on the type of content, and this is something you need to pay close attention to. For Secret Realm, your core set will be Aggravate, Bloodlust, Shroud Mist, and Emperor Fall. For Expedition or Abyss, you use Aggravate, Bloodlust, Toxic Mist, and Emperor Fall, which is almost the same as the Secret Realm set, but with Toxic Mist replacing Shroud Mist. There is one particularly important note here. If you find that Bloodlust often moves you into dangerous positions, meaning the skill's movement mechanic pushes you into the boss's attack range, then you should replace it with Dagger Rain to stay safer. This is something you should remember if you are playing Assassin in high difficulty content where dying is easy. Going into the details of each skill, Aggravate is a basic skill with a 1-second cooldown, and every time it deals damage with a damage rate of 343%, it reduces the target's defense, stacking up to 10 times. This is a very important setup skill because it continuously reduces the boss's defense, allowing the high damage skills that come after it to perform much better. Bloodlust is a core skill with a 3.65-second cooldown. At the end of the slash sequence, it performs an additional powerful fan-shaped slash, and both the regular slash and the enhanced slash have a damage rate of 229%. This is the main damage skill that helps you maintain consistent DPS. Shroud Mist is the tactical skill used for Secret Realm with a 7.8-second cooldown. The smoke area becomes larger and lasts longer, while Assassin gains 60% dodge rate for the first 2 seconds after entering the area. This skill provides both dodge support and an area of control. And Emperor Fall is the ultimate skill with a 15.75-second cooldown. A blade comes crashing down with an extremely high damage rate of up to 221%, while also applying vulnerability and bleeding to the target. This is clearly the strongest burst damage skill in Assassin's kit. For Toxic Mist, which replaces Shroud Mist when fighting in Expedition or Abyss, it has a 13-second cooldown. Enemies inside the smoke area will be blinded for 1 second and continuously take poison damage with a damage rate of 150%. Compared to Shroud Mist, which focuses more on evasion, Toxic Mist focuses more on continuous damage and blinding the target. This is why the game clearly separates the skills by content, because Secret Realm requires you to survive for a long time, so dodge is prioritized, while Abyss and Expedition require continuous damage. So poison is prioritized. For pets, the recommended combo is Dancer for the attack penetration build, or Meteor for the attack crit build, combined with Light Howl and Landslide when fighting in Secret Realm, and using 0-star Soul Claw for the basic Secret Realm setup. Let's go over the pet mechanics specifically so you can understand them clearly. Dancer has the Death Step skill with a 3-second cooldown and a cost of 60 energy. It summons 5 butterflies that sequentially attack enemies within a 4.2 meter radius with a damage rate of 482.4%. If the attack does not crit, it applies 1 stack of weakening to the target, and when the target reaches 4 stacks of weakening, it enters the weak state for 5 seconds, during which the player deals an additional 35% damage. This is a pretty deep mechanic that I think is definitely worth understanding because it encourages you to keep attacking continuously to build stacks instead of relying purely on crit, and especially when carried by a melee profession like Assassin, the skill will be released in melee form. Meteor has the Reality Collapse skill with a 3-second cooldown and a cost of 60 energy. It automatically locks onto the nearest target and deals 6 instances of damage within a 2.5 meter radius with a damage rate of 784.78%. If it crits, it deals 1 additional instance of damage with a damage rate of 978.77%, with a maximum of 2 triggers per target, and it will also be released in melee form when carried by Assassin. Landslide has the Mountain Roar skill with a 3-second cooldown and a cost of 60 energy. When activated with an auto-release distance of 4 meters, you gain a rock shield that blocks 2 instances of damage for 3 seconds. When the shield expires or is destroyed, the rock shatters and deals damage within a 4.2 meter radius with an enormous damage rate of 4,020%. Also in melee form. And Light Howl keeps its familiar buffing role. Star Flare increases damage and healing by 35% for 7 seconds with a 30-second cooldown. Now, let's get into what I think is the most distinctive part of Assassin, the specialization called Assassination Specialization, which unlocks at Lv.40. The basic mechanic is that if you do not cast a talent skill for 1.5 seconds, you will enter ambush mode, immediately gaining a damage boost, and the skills you cast during the next 5 seconds will deal an additional 25% damage. The cooldown to enter ambush mode again is 15 seconds. This is a mechanic that forces you to know when to stop instead of constantly spamming skills, which is quite different from the usual playstyle of other DPS classes. For the upgrade path, the game clearly separates it into 2 different goals. If you are playing Abyss, prioritize Ambush Master first, followed by Hidden Killing Intent. Ambush Master increases the duration of the damage boost effect in ambush mode by 1 to 3 seconds depending on the level, giving you more time to take advantage of the buff. Hidden Killing Intent activates ambush as well if you do not move for 14 seconds, lasting for 2 seconds, and shares the same cooldown with ambush activated from Assassination Specialization. This gives you an additional way to enter ambush mode beyond the normal method. If you are playing Secret Realm, prioritize Ghostly Presence first, followed by Swift Shadow Step. Ghostly Presence gives you a 50% to 100% chance, depending on the level, to receive 1 or 2 instances of damage immunity for 2 seconds when entering ambush mode. This is clearly a very valuable survival skill for Secret Realm because it allows you to avoid critical damage at the most important moment. Swift Shadow Step increases your movement speed by 20% to 40%, depending on the level when entering ambush mode, lasting for 5 seconds, giving you more mobility to dodge attacks or quickly reposition yourself in Secret Realm. For badge, you should equip the stats that fit the damage roll of this class, including attack, crit, penetration, and hit rating, exactly like the direction I previously analyzed for Archer. Finally, let's get into the practical tips. For equipment, don't dismantle your old core equipment right after upgrading. Keep at least 1 old weapon and 1 pair of old gloves with the Shroud Mist or Toxic Mist core, because you may still need to use them depending on the situation. For auction accessories, basic short-term gear is enough, so don't overbid on the auction. Prioritize getting accessories from the first-time Abyss clear, assistance coins, or buying them at a reasonable price. And remember that the assistance coin cap is 1.5k. For your build, as I mentioned above, Bloodlust can push you into dangerous positions. so replace it with Dagger Rain when survivability becomes an issue, and absolutely do not mix stats, gems, or refinement between the attack penetration and attack crit builds. Always remember to add penetration when fighting high defense bosses. To sum everything up, Assassin is a very strong class for Secret Realm with high damage and fast leveling, but you need to understand the ambush mode mechanic clearly to maximize your damage, while also being careful with Bloodlust when playing content where it is easy to die, such as Abyss. If you are new to the game, attack penetration with Dancer is a safer starting point, while once you get used to the class and want to climb the Secret Realm rankings, attack crit with Meteor, together with the Ghostly Presence branch, will be the ideal combination for you. That's all for today's video. If you found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next WoW Adventure build analysis.